Let's turn to Sri Lanka now, where today was election day, the first parliamentary election since the financial crisis. It's a big test for the country's new president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake. He called for these polls after winning the presidency. Right now, his party has just 3 seats in parliament, which is not enough to make meaningful policies. So Dissanayake is asking Sri Lankans for a decisive mandate. He says we should win big enough to make the opposition cry, which is a strange rallying call. But what exactly is a big win? Sri Lanka's parliament has 225 seats. The majority mark is 113. Dissanayake is eyeing a 2/3 majority, one that will enable him to reform the presidency or maybe even abolish it. But does his party stand a chance? And what about the old faces like Vikramasinghe and the Rajapaksas? Will they be making a comeback? Our next report tells you.
Sri Lankans lined up to vote today. A bit of a deja vu if you follow their politics. Because Sri Lanka voted in September to elect a new president. But this one is for the parliament. Around 17 million people were eligible to vote. They lined up at more than 13,000 polling stations across the country. The turnout was reportedly low, perhaps a sign of fatigue from back-to-back elections. But those who did turn up had the same message.
There is no corruption, and the people who are supposed to do their work do the work they are supposed to do.
We need to select the people who can serve the country without any corruptions.
This is Sri Lanka's first parliament elections after the financial crisis of 2022. A crisis triggered by mismanagement and corruption. So voters are desperate for change. We saw that in September too, when they voted in a Marxist leader as president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake or AKD. He leads the NPP or the National People's Power Alliance. They have just 3 seats in the current parliament. Not enough to fill a cabinet, let alone implement major reforms. Which is why AKD called for these snap elections. He cast his vote in Colombo today.
This is an election that shows a decisive turning point. In this election, the National People's Power expects a mandate for a strong government, and we believe that the people will give us this mandate.
But what does that strong mandate look like? Most pollsters expect NPP to cross the majority mark. In Sri Lanka, that's 113. The parliament has a total of 225 seats. Out of these, 196 are directly elected by the people, and the rest distributed based on vote share. A simple majority will allow AKD to implement reforms, but his goal is much bigger. AKD wants to abolish Sri Lanka's executive presidency. Sri Lanka had a parliamentary government until 1978, much like India or the United Kingdom. Most powers rested with a prime minister, but a new constitution in 1978 created an executive presidency. The president was vested with vast powers, and many Sri Lankans trace their problems to this move. Nearly every party and president has promised to abolish this system. But once in office, they have all seemingly forgotten about it. AKD too has promised to abolish the executive presidency. But to do that, he needs a 2/3 majority. Will he get it though? Most of the old guard isn't contesting this time. AKD's predecessor, Ranil Vikramasinghe, is not in the fray. He's skipping elections for the first time since 1977. The Rajapaksa brothers, Mahinda and Gotabaya, are also missing. AKD's biggest challenge will come from the Samagi Jana Balavega, the party of his presidential rival, Sajith Premadasa.
I think the president's party, the NPP, will emerge victorious from the parliamentary election. The size of their majority obviously is to be determined based on many other factors, including things like voter fatigue and other things as well.
Sri Lanka's biggest priority is their IMF bailout package, which is a $2.9 billion deal. AKD had promised to renegotiate that deal to reduce austerity measures. But after coming to power, he made a U-turn. he will stick to the same IMF deal, but he wants to give relief to the people, like tax cuts to the middle class. When results come in on Friday, it will be a verdict on AKD and on the economic path he has chosen. Will Sri Lankans stick to their choice from September, or will they spring a surprise?